So, the following clips will prove to you beyond any doubt that covert experimentation is real, and the most insightful people tend to be the ones who believe it. Now, I was chosen because, bear with me for 1 second. All right. I was chosen because I am the ideal candidate. When you look at all the targeted individuals, you will not find a more ideal candidate than myself. It simply does not exist. Why? Here's a partial list. My aggressive personality. I live on the fringes of society, so to speak, as a revolutionary and a former gang member. My psychiatric history, reform school, institutionalization, outpatient, and so on. I talk shit about the government, law enforcement, and all these groups that are doing this long before they started doing it. I'm extremely outspoken, 3,400 videos on YouTube alone. I'm politically active. I live in the middle of nowhere in a small town. My friends are not extremely loyal. My family is wishy-washy, and they're very educated. So having a very educated family that refuses to see it my way, whether from complicity or ignorance, extremely helps their cause. And my parents have misconceptions about psychiatry that they have always refused to address, even though I've pointed out where they're wrong in a very direct way that would have most of you screaming at the top of your lungs, crying and ripping out your hair. And my brothers are clueless about these sorts of things. And so when you think about this, I was the ideal candidate. Period. I was the #1 ideal candidate. I am the most likely to be put. If you looked at all of us, you put all the target individuals together in a list and you described them all one at a time, you would say, yes, this guy stands out as exactly the type of guy they're looking for. And let's not forget, oh yeah, I'm the top martial artist. And therefore, I'm more than just a political dissident. I have a great capacity for changing this nation that they don't want to see come to fruition. So without further ado, I'm going to give you the next 2 clips, and I want you to realize that I'm right. All you naysayers are wrong. All you people who play stupid are dead fucking wrong. At least the people who are fucking dumb, who are stupid, at least they have an excuse. They're stupid. Your excuse is what? You're a spiritual fucking bottom. You're one of the bitches on my wall. You've seen almost all of it. You've almost seen it all. You're one of the bitches on my wall. You have no excuse. Your inferior philosophies are extremely harmful. Your lack of religious conviction allows you to do this. All right, so this is a documentary from 1979 ABC documentary, mainstream news. Okay, so don't cry conspiracy theories, mainstream reporting. You know how mainstream news does not exactly deal in conspiracy theory. Anyway. MK Ultra is what it's about. Damn, I was hoping that I wouldn't get this kind of delay on the clips.
We are not professing to tell you the complete story of these activities. We are professing to tell you the complete story that we know. Right. But these records that we've uncovered don't tell the story. They tell pieces of it.
This is a story that has been told in bits and pieces. This is an attempt to pull most of it together. We know we don't have the full story. We do, however, have some striking new revelations and insights.
So they don't know the whole story. That's why I played that part.
He also knew a great deal about the swifter elements of society, the gamier side of life, and he was very impressive in his technical knowledge of the underworld, so to speak.
He said one of our men gets beat up. He says you have to act real fast and teach these guys a lesson.
Charles Siragusa, a former narcotics officer and friend of White's.
He'll come around, he says, and break your kneecaps.
So they had a guy who was very familiar with the criminal underworld.
As this 1952 CIA memo says, the aim is controlling an individual, to the point where he will do our bidding against his will, and even against such fundamental laws of nature as self-preservation.
You wonder where these mass shooters came from, okay? These people absolutely believe the ends justifies the means. And if you don't get that, you know, I don't know what to tell you. Alright, let's go.
John Gittinger, recently retired chief psychologist for the CIA. This is the first time Gittinger has been interviewed publicly.
We could disable a whole city by putting a very small amount in a water supply. After all of these years of us, those of us who are involved in looking for this secret drug, this was the only thing that began to look for the first time like it might be something like that.
Alright, so they're looking for the secret drug, and they brought up using it on targeting a population through their water supply. This brings a lot of credence to the idea that there's chemicals that are purposely placed in our water supply. And if you look it up, psychiatric drugs are being flushed down the toilet. And I think that there's an element of this being done on purpose, but regardless, they must have foresaw this adverse effect of the mass drugging of people. And so that we're all given a little bit of psych meds in the steam in our showers, and people who drink water from the faucet, etc.
Derived from the mushrooms could remain an agency secret. What in the world were they looking for with the magic mushrooms?
I think the best answer to that is that they were looking for fundamental information on compounds that would be capable of causing changes in behavior, changes in mental attitude.
Did you ever consider what would have happened if any of these substances were given to, say, unwitting people?
Oh, I don't remember having considered that specifically.
What if you... I trust perhaps you've thought about it.
Well, I haven't worried about it. Your question again, what would I have thought had I known that
any of these substances would
have been given to
unwitting persons?
You mean a hostile agent of another government?
No, I mean
that was probably one of the things they had in mind.
I mean testing it out on an American citizen.
I guess I must seem very, very cold-blooded about this, but I don't recall ever having been very much preoccupied with that issue.
But many drugs were tested in this way. A decision was made at the highest levels of the CIA to do testing on unwitting Americans. As one CIA document says, such testing would be operationally realistic. A former CIA official who worked on these programs describes for the first time how the decision was made. He did not wish to be filmed or recorded. Thus his remarks are read by someone else.
I think every last one of us felt sorry to attempt this kind of thing. We knew we were crossing the line. Every decent kid knows he shouldn't steal, but he does it sometimes. We knew damn well we didn't want anyone else to know what we were doing.
The decision was made to do testing on unwitting victims. It was decided they should be on the fringes of society because they were most vulnerable.
It was the borderline underworld. Prostitutes, drug addicts, and other small-timers would be powerless to seek any kind of revenge in case they found out.
This is key, and I'll explore this in a second.
And as their predecessors had a decade earlier, the CIA turned to George White for help. White was now a high-ranking narcotics official, and by this time, the stories about George White were legendary.
So the waiter says, "You may help you, monsieur?" And George White was busy talking with me. I paid no attention to the waiter, so the waiter tapped him on the shoulder, says, "May I help you, monsieur?" George White turned around, whipped his gun out, and stuck it in the guy's face like this in this crowded restaurant.
George White did not mind bending the law, and he knew the street well. He was the ideal choice for what the CIA had in mind.
We were Ivy League, white, middle class. We were naive, totally naive about this, and he felt pretty expert. He knew the whores, the pimps, the people who brought in the drugs.
At least this guy has the honesty, has the integrity enough to admit that a lot of these Ivy League school people, they're not in touch with reality. They're very brainwashed by the education system, and so they don't truly know how things go down. So you'll see some people who are very educated who do not understand how things really work. I'm taking you through this point by point, and believe it or not, some people really need this.
History will judge the role of the CIA and other intelligence agencies in unwittingly contributing to the counterculture of the 60s.
Unwittingly, yeah, no. They knew exactly what they were doing. Okay, it was the psychologists that they were giving drugs to who were at college campuses. We all know about college campuses and their party scenes and how even non-college students go to the frats and so on and college parties and intermingle, and they knew that this is one of the most effective ways to spread the opposition movements, aka the counterculture.
For their intense interest in LSD and other hallucinogenics. But for the moment at least, the argument can be made
There's going to be some nudity
that the
stuff.
CIA
Well,
helped usher in the age of Aquarius.
now that is key right there. This is 1979. You know, you would think that this is like a alternative media or somebody did this. No, this is ABC News, 1979. Anyway.
As one agency memo says, we have no answer to the moral question. The safe houses were not the only testing grounds. Millions of dollars would be spent on LSD research at universities throughout the country. And word would begin to spread on campus about this so-called mind-blowing drug. And suddenly, there was the counterculture of the 60s.
I give the
Oh no, this is part C.
CIA a total credit for sponsoring and initiating the entire consciousness movement, counterculture events of the 1960s.
Dr. Timothy Leary, the 1960s Johnny Appleseed of LSD.
And he gives CIA the entire credit, okay? I mean, and you know, I was born in the very early 80s, okay? This is not a long time ago. This absolutely, a lot of the people who are involved in this are still alive today. Their family, and some of their family, believe it or not, some of the families of the victims were helping do this to them, and they're still part of these gang stalking, government harassment, covert experimentation programs to this day.
The CIA funded and supported and encouraged hundreds of young psychiatrists to experiment with this drug. The fallout from that was that the young psychologists began taking it themselves, discovering that it was an intelligence-enhancing, consciousness-raising experience.
I know that some of the studies in which the CIA had supported used as subjects people who later became strong proselytizers of LSD. So, in that sense, yes, I think it did.
And this is not the only thing. Remember, the CIA brought crack into the community, the black communities. You think this is all coincidence? Oh, they accidentally dropped crack into the black communities, and they accidentally caused the drug culture in the ghetto to spread. Okay, so they spread mind-controlled drugs so they can brainwash the middle class and the Ivy Leagues and the think tanks to see things their way and make them more suggestible and impressionable, you know, and you know, they could sway them to their point of view, you know, and they put it in the ghettos, the crack and stuff, and different drugs for different reasons, you know, just like the pharmacy, right? If you have a cold, this drug. If you have, you know, you need Vicodin for pain killing, whatever, okay? Different drugs. You know, different strokes for different folks, different drugs for, you know, squares and thugs. Now, so let's go to the next clip.
The CIA was not the only government agency interested in the possibilities LSD and other drugs presented for mind control.
Now,
the Army Chemical Corps...
Remember, you know, I wasn't an expert on MKUltra, you know. I don't think anybody is. I'm still not, but you know, in fact, I don't believe I've even seen this documentary. I've seen maybe a dozen documentaries on. I don't think I've seen this particular one. Okay, and it ties in all the groups that I'm talking about. Military. I'm gonna read the list, and you know, First, I'm going to play this clip, then I'm going to read the list from Gang Stalking, and I want to just hear what you know, in the comments, what you think about it.
First started working with the CIA and then branched off on its own. It too tested drugs on unwitting victims, and a death would result. The case of this man, Harold Blower, a tennis pro, seen here with his daughter Elizabeth, is well known.
Okay, so I didn't play the part about Frank Olson. Frank Olson's the guy who jumped out the window, supposedly, and there's people who say he was murdered by the CIA. This is the Army, and they're testing it on their own. They branched down on their own. So there's hundreds of sub-projects of MKUltra, and there's mescaline and the derivatives being used, LSD, and so on.
In 1953, Blower was a private patient at the New York State Psychiatric Institute. He was given 5 injections of a mescaline derivative that was being tested secretly for the Army Chemical Corps. With the 5th injection, Harold Blower died. As with the Olson case, a 22-year cover-up followed, until finally the Army admitted the real details of Blower's death. Since the initial...
So there was a cover-up, right? Now, so far we've discussed, you know, listen to these groups. I would argue that every single one of these groups has been discussed so far. The military, intelligence agencies, local law enforcement, organized crime, mental health, secret society, civilian recruits, gangs, prison, organized street, organized crime, political groups, social media sites, well, maybe not social media sites, universities, education, and what does this last one say? I've got something in my eyes right now. Oh, stores and businesses. Absolutely. Oh, no. All right, so let's go back.
Psychiatric Institute. He was given 5 injections of a mescaline derivative that was being tested secretly for the Army Chemical Corps. With the 5th injection...
We're almost through here. Bear with me. I know it's going to be a long video, longer than I wanted. I will hold...
Testing program. From a previously classified deposition of Dr. James Cattell, who administered the mescaline derivative, on the purpose of the drug testing, to produce symptoms similar to those that you see in schizophrenia. On how much the patient knew about all this. We didn't delineate all the possibilities of what might happen because then you contaminate your experiment. Cattell then relates that he never even knew what drug he had given Harold Blower because of the secrecy of the Army experiments. We didn't know whether it was dog piss. This was secret. This was a secret. We weren't in on it. We asked Blower's daughter Elizabeth for her reaction.
What? How can anybody react to that? I mean, that is so far from what you'd expect from a human being, never mind a doctor, never mind a professional specialist who's supposed to care about people's minds. It's unbelievable.
A suit filed by Elizabeth...
It's unbelievable. See, your problem, lady, and no offense, I'm not trying to be an asshole, be sarcastic. I'm not trying to be, you know, petty or anything like that. But don't be surprised when the people who do what they do, then you won't find yourself saying it's unbelievable. Let's move on. Wonder why I clicked that one. Mescaline is produced. Oh yeah, we did this schizophrenia.
Given LSD and other drugs. She became agitated, cried, lapsed into a trance-like state. Felt as if she were about to have a convulsion. Experienced waves of darkness and light. Had bizarre sensations in her neck and legs. Said somebody was trying to manipulate her body.
Sound familiar?
At this point, Dr. Monroe wrote that the woman was obviously having paranoid ideas. As a layperson, perhaps you can
enlighten this part's key.
Agent. An agent that would not harm the person permanently, but would incapacitate them temporarily. That seemed like a humanistic way to wage a war.
A humanistic. Remember I talked about secular humanists? It's their philosophies that I'll get to that in a second. I'm almost done here. 3155. Damn it, I didn't make it a... I wonder why that didn't pop up as a clickable link.
Maxwell House's coffee you can count on.
Maxwell House, good to the last drop.
Maxwell House is good every time. Maxwell House is good coffee.
Good to the last behind.
Must have meant 3355.
By far, the most chilling experiments we have uncovered took place at this
Oh, that's not right. Damn it. I guess not. Okay.
Gothic estate called Ravenscrag,
It's a Gothic
halfway
estate.
up Mount Royal in Montreal.
Satanists.
It houses the Allen
Occultists,
Memorial Institute of
Gothics.
Psychiatry of McGill University.
Psychiatry.
It was here that the CIA funded a series of experiments, severe experiments. The work was done by the Institute's then director, Dr. Ewan Cameron. It is the closest experimentation to brainwashing yet disclosed. His work, unprecedented in psychiatry, consisted of 3 areas which he called sleep therapy, psychic driving, and the ultimate depatterning. Dr. Maurice Dongier, current head of the Allen Memorial Institute.
In his psychic driving, so-called
Okay, so
type of therapy.
unfortunately, I can't explore that.
I just became so despondent that I thought I can't live like this any longer. And I thought I would just go out and throw myself underneath the cars on McGregor.
Okay, so you had the Olsen guy who supposedly committed suicide. You had the other guy, the victim of the army experimentation. I forgot his name. Who committed suicide, and you had this lady who had suicidal ideation. Okay, let's just wrap this up. I want to explore that, but this video is gonna be long.
Stuff. But damn it all, I wouldn't. I could have maybe had a different kind of life, and that makes me angry and sad and. I don't know how to explain how I feel, really. I just.
How did you feel when you learned that Dr. Cameron's experimentation was financed by the CIA?
Well, I thought, I can't even use the word that I thought, because I thought that bastard, and he was too smart. He knew who he was working for, and excuse me, but I just can't, sometimes I can't believe it, and yet I know it's true.
If you had the opportunity to say something to the people at the Central Intelligence Agency who financed this study, what would you say?
I realize the CIA is a very important organization and they have a very important job to do. But God, it surely doesn't have to be done on people who are totally incapable of knowing what's happening or having any defense against it. And I can't imagine the mentality of people who would do this. I just can't.
And that's something I explain to targeted individuals all the time. They are Satanists, the worst criminals, LGBT community, feminists, atheists, and racists. And they complain about religious people all the time. But it's not religious people doing this, is it? No, it's not. It's secular humanists and atheists and mental health who say, we love you, and it's the religious people you need to worry about. To make a long story short, this proves everything. And this ending is just, wow. Just listen. It proves everything about rape, about California, about how they did this in the state, and they maintained contact, and they still have the records, and they continued it.
His experiment. Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, whom we recently filmed near his California home, oversaw many of the CIA behavioral programs. He retired in 1973 and destroyed the records of this work.
Supposedly.
In sort of a valedictory letter, Dr. Gottlieb wrote that he and his colleagues had been able to maintain contact with the leading edge of developments in the field of biological and chemical control of human behavior. Dr. Gottlieb also testified before the Senate subcommittee, but from an anteroom where he could not be filmed because of what his lawyer termed health and cardiac problems. Dr. Gottlieb declined ABC News' request for an interview.
Now listen carefully, this is even more key. Let's talk about that gangster.
And what of George White, the man who helped the agency in so many of its programs? He would retire here to Stinson Beach, California. And shortly before his death, He wrote to his boss at the CIA, Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, and summed up his career by saying, "It was fun, fun, fun. Where else could a red-blooded American boy lie, kill, and cheat, steal, deceive, rape, and pillage, with the sanction and blessing of the All-Highest?"
Of the All-Highest. He's not talking about God. He's talking about the highest people in the secret society structure. But if you're a bootlicker, we'll just say the highest people in government. And notice he said rape and pillage. You know, they were doing all kinds of horrible things, and they're still doing it. And the government is still doing it. And, you know, it's sad that you people don't see that. You know, I'll go as far as to say anyone who says that I'm wrong about anything in this video should be seriously injured. And it should be legal to do so. Thank you. The sword of the Lord. For the word of God is living and active, sharper than any double-edged sword. Hebrews 4:12. Oh yeah. I think it's cool too, yeah. It's a letter opener. I was hoping the handle would be long enough for me to actually hold, so I could use it as a dagger. I was hoping to be a little bit sturdier too. I mean, I could still stab somebody with this, but it's not exactly as effective as a, you know, hunting knife. But it sure is cool. It's cool, you know. And I got my crosses in the mail. I'm happy. You know, for you satanic dogs, I will be handing out these crosses to people. I just want all you Satanists who are gang stalking to know that I will be handing out these things, you know, on Christmas. So, you know, if you live by me and you want one, just let me know. I will deliver it to you. How do you satanic dogs feel about this? You see this? Yes. Yes. Everything that you hate is what I represent. And believe me, there will be more videos coming soon that you will not like. I promise you this. There are videos coming soon with symbolism that you will absolutely detest. Yes. God wills it. You're going to see me saying that serious. Very soon. You will see me saying that dead serious. Listen, I have the letter opener right now, and I'm kind of joking around. God wills it. Yes, yes, yes. But soon I'll be dead fucking serious. You fucking guys busted my fucking boss. Who do you guys think you are, huh? Busting my fucking boss. You know who I am? Do you know who I am? I'm the boss. I'm the boss. Ravioli. Fuck wrong with you guys. I'll tell you what's wrong with you motherfuckers. You lack respect. Respect. Respect.